The plan was simple. Set out early, snacks stashed in the backseat, coffee up front, drive a few hours, cross into Canada, reconnect with relatives I hadn't seen in ages, and feign enthusiasm for potato salad. It was supposed to feel routine, almost mundane. I was behind the wheel as usual because I can't stand my husband's last-second braking, and partly because motion sickness is one of my many talents. The kids, ages 5, 7, and 10, were half awake in the back, glued to a cartoon and bickering over imaginary lines drawn across the seats. Tiny chaos, complete with matching neck pillows. It was fine, not enchanting, not dreadful, just fine, until he spoke. "Turn around now." I didn't react at first, or not seriously. I chuckled or scoffed, the kind of reflex you have when you think someone's joking, but it's not quite funny enough for a real laugh. "Why?" I asked. He didn't answer immediately, just stared ahead before saying, "Please, just turn around." That's when I knew it wasn't a joke. My husband doesn't lose his cool. His default is steady, composed, maybe a little weary. I've seen him handle a kitchen fire with less tension. So I took the last exit before the border. The road curved gently, like it was offering me a chance to reconsider. His shoulders eased as we left the highway, not fully, but enough to show he'd been bracing for something. "Okay," I said. "Want to tell me what's going on?" He shook his head. "Just drive." "Drive where?" "I don't know." "Anywhere but there." The kids started to notice. "Are we going the wrong way?" my middle one asked. "We forgot something," I said on autopilot. "What?" "I'll tell you later." The youngest piped up. "Is it snacks?" I didn't answer. My husband stayed silent for a long stretch. We drove through miles of trees, shame prickling at the back of my neck. Then he said, "Take the next turnoff." It led to a dead-end access road, no sign, no purpose. One of those places you only find when you're lost or about to be. I pulled over, he unbuckled his seatbelt. "Stay here." He got out and walked to the back of the car. I couldn't see from my seat, so I waited, palms sweaty, heart pounding too hard like it knew something I didn't. After a minute, the trunk slammed shut. He came to my window. "Can you come out?" "Why? I need you to see it." His voice wasn't angry or scared, it was drained but certain. I stepped out. He led me to the trunk and opened it. He didn't say anything, just pointed. I looked, and forgot how to breathe. I wasn't afraid yet. Fear was still catching up. In that moment, I felt something heavier, slower, like sinking through the foundation of my own life. I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. I knew we were one wrong move from losing everything. The strange thing is, I thought I was the responsible one in the family. Not in the files, taxes, and wear sunscreen way, though that matters, but in the sense that I could be the steady one. The one who didn't unravel, disappear, or lie for kicks. The one who tried. The one who helped when she could and drew lines when she couldn't. But looking back, being the responsible one in my family was like being the sober driver at a crash derby. They didn't want help, they wanted cover. I provided it for years. It started when I was young. My parents believed success was about appearances, not substance. If you looked generous, if your holiday lights were perfect and your fridge had 5 kinds of mustard, you were winning. It didn't matter if the credit cards were maxed or the heat was off that winter. We were fine, that was the story. Stick to it or get erased. Some years were lean, cereal for dinner, parents working late most nights, which I later learned meant they were hiding our financial struggles. Other years, they splurged on new cars, TVs, and patio furniture nobody used. The money came and went like the seasons. The spending never stopped. I once asked my dad why we didn't save more during good times. He said, "You don't need to save if you know how to hustle." I was 8. My sister inherited it all, the hustle, the charm, the magnetic pull of someone who could light up a room while quietly sapping your confidence. She was my parents' favorite, no secret there, not even a cruel one, just the truth. They got her, she was like them. I wasn't. They called me boring, uptight, too serious, sometimes to my face. My mom once said mid-Thanksgiving dinner that I'd mistaken discipline for personality. "Where's the wild side?" I believed them. In that kind of family, you learn love comes from being useful, tidy, reasonable, so I became that. I took on the responsibility. They'd call when they needed help with insurance forms, school applications, or when my sister lost another job and someone had to step in. I did what I could, not too much, just enough to keep things from collapsing, to avoid being the villain. Even when it hurt. Even when every no was spun as selfishness. I gave in because they were my parents and it felt easier than the alternative. Then the ask changed. About 4 months before the trip, my sister's son, my nephew, was struggling in school. They said he was bullied, didn't fit in, was anxious, withdrawn. They had him tested, and a therapist supposedly recommended a smaller setting. They found a private school, prestigious, expensive, life-changing. They couldn't afford it, but he was conditionally accepted if they paid a deposit. They just needed a little help, just to secure it. They'd pay me back, of course. My stomach sank the moment they asked. It wasn't that I didn't care, I did. That's the worst part. I loved the kid, wanted the best for him. But I knew the pattern. I knew how it started and ended. I said no carefully, like I was talking to someone holding a fragile blade. I can't afford private school. I have 3 kids of my own. We don't do private school. I'm sorry. They didn't yell. They went quiet. Cold, my mom said, "Of course I forgot. You have rules." Then we didn't talk for a while until the reunion came up. Suddenly they were warm again, thrilled to see us. They'd worked things out. The school, the reunion, the drive. I didn't ask how. I told myself it wasn't my business. They asked if we could carry an extra bag in our SUV since their car was full. "Sure," I said. "Just let me know." That was days before the trip. Then as we were about to leave, my dad handed me the red duffel. "Won't fit in ours," he said. "Just this one." I took it without thinking, tossed it in with our bags, the kids' backpacks, and a cooler of juice boxes. Didn't even unzip it. I didn't question why they seemed so at ease all of a sudden. I didn't ask why people who were struggling to pay for school, groceries, and gas, and who blamed me for not helping, were suddenly fine. They smiled as we pulled out of the driveway, waving like they didn't have a care in the world. For a fleeting moment, I thought it was odd. They seemed almost too happy. I brushed it off. Just another bag, just another trip. Just another family mess I didn't want to touch. Maybe I should have asked more questions. Maybe I was too trusting. He didn't sound angry or scared. He sounded weary but sure. "I need you to see it," he said. I got out. He led me to the trunk and opened it. He didn't speak, just unzipped the red duffel and pulled back a sweatshirt. That's when everything froze. Packets were tucked between clothes, stuffed into what looked like a kid's toiletry bag, sealed in plastic. Not one, not well hidden. Just there, barely concealed, obvious to anyone with half a brain doing their job. I went from not quite understanding to knowing everything in a heartbeat. Not medicine, not supplements. Nothing that didn't scream handcuffs, lawyers, or news reports. I couldn't speak. My chest tightened like drowning in slow motion. He didn't say, "Look what they did." He didn't say, "This is what I suspected." He just zipped the bag shut and let the silence speak. I stepped back, gravel crunching under my shoes like it belonged to someone else's life. "They put that in our car," I finally said, my voice thin. He nodded. "With the kids," I added. Another nod. I looked at the sky for no reason. It was still blue, still perfect. I hated that. It felt wrong, like the sky didn't get the message. "How did you know?" I asked. He didn't answer right away, just stared at the closed trunk like it was still open in his mind. "When they gave us the bag," he said finally. There was something in their eyes, the way they smiled like it was already done, like they knew it'd work. He shrugged, shaking his head like he was trying to dislodge the memory. I couldn't stop thinking about it the whole drive. Then right before the border it hit me. He looked at me. I didn't know, but I knew. That was worse somehow, that someone else saw what I'd trained myself to ignore. I walked back to the driver's seat, got in, shut the door. I sat there, letting the heat seep through the windshield as my hands trembled. Then I started the car and drove. The kids didn't ask questions this time, lost in their cartoon. They'd forgotten about Canada, Auntie Linda, their cousins, and the little goodie bags I'd packed for the reunion. We drove for a while, highway, backroads, aimless. My phone started buzzing. First my mom, then my dad, then again and again. I didn't answer, neither did he. We didn't need to. We knew what they'd say. "Where are you? What happened? Are you okay? Where's the bag?" We didn't respond, just kept driving. Eventually, we turned toward their house. It felt automatic, like we were on tracks. We didn't discuss it. We both knew what had to be done. I pulled into their driveway and parked. The porch light was still on from the night before, glowing in the afternoon. He got out first, went to the trunk. I followed. We didn't speak. I reached for the mat, found the key taped to the back of a fake rock my dad bought from a catalog that also sold deer whistles and solar-powered frogs. He opened the front door. We stepped inside. The air smelled of stale coffee and carpet cleaner. We set the red duffel just inside the hall. I didn't open it. I didn't adjust anything. Just placed it there like a silent grenade that didn't need to explode to ruin everything. He turned the knob, locked the door behind us. We got back in the car. No words. Speaking felt like it would taint something. Later that night, with the kids asleep and the house quiet, I answered the phone. It was my mom, her voice bright and fake like she was calling about muffins. "Oh, honey, we were so worried. We didn't know what happened. You just vanished." I didn't speak. "Is everything okay?" Still nothing. "Where's the bag?" I let that hang. Then I said, "We dropped it off at your house." A pause. "If it was that important," I said, "maybe you should have carried it yourself." Her voice didn't change, but I heard the hitch, the flicker of realization that she knew, and I knew what she'd done. She said nothing. Neither did I. Then I said, "We're not doing this, don't call again." I hung up. That should have been the end, but it wasn't, not yet. They showed up on Wednesday, no warning, no call, just the doorbell ringing like they were dropping off cupcakes instead of guilt. I knew it was them before I looked. There's a weight that seeps through a door, like a bad smell or static, especially from people who think they've done nothing wrong. I opened the door just enough to step outside, then closed it firmly behind me. My parents stood there, as if they hadn't just tried to shatter my life with a smile and a duffel bag. My mom gave me a tight, forced grin that didn't touch her eyes. "We wanted to check in," she said, like I just missed a brunch invite. My dad added, "We thought we could clear the air." I said nothing, just crossed my arms and waited. My mom faltered, then said, "We didn't realize how much you understood." There it was, the slip. They knew, I knew. They just didn't expect me to trust myself. I tilted my head. "You mean the bag?" Neither answered, which was enough. "You put it in our trunk," I said, "with your grandchildren in the backseat." My mom swallowed. "We didn't think it'd be a big deal," she said. "It wasn't going to be anything," my dad added, trying to sound even. "Just something to help with the debt, that's all." "We were desperate," my mom said. "You wouldn't help." There it was again, the fallback excuse, the one-size-fits-all defense, you wouldn't help. Like their betrayal was just a natural response to my boundaries, like it was my fault. I didn't shout, I didn't cry. "You didn't just betray me," I said. "You risked our lives." They didn't speak. "You risked your daughter, your son-in-law, your grandchildren." My dad shifted his weight. My mom blinked like she was trying to cry but couldn't quite pull it off. "We're done," I said. "Don't call, don't come here. You don't get to see the kids, this is over." My mom opened her mouth. I could almost hear the usual, "You're being dramatic," or "You'll cool off." Instead, she said, "You'll come around. You always do." I turned, walked inside, and locked the door. For the first time in a long time, I didn't wonder if she was right. 3 days later, I went to pick up the kids from school. They weren't there. My stomach dropped so fast I couldn't speak. I just stared at the teacher like she'd told me my house was burning. "Oh, they were already picked up," she said, like it was nothing. "Your parents said you asked them to?" I don't remember driving. I remember the car engine, but nothing else. They were at my parents' house, of course. Inside, it looked like a birthday party had erupted. Toys, candy, balloons, a Lego set pricier than my weekly groceries. The kids were beaming, sugar high, clutching new gifts and laughing like it was a theme park. My parents played the part, my mom slicing cake, my dad on the floor with something that beeped. It was surreal, like stepping into a world where they were doting grandparents who cared about giving, not taking. But they weren't. This wasn't love, it was tactics, emotional bribery, weaponized affection. They'd never spoiled the kids before, not like this. But after we cut them off, suddenly they were Santa with a credit card. I stood there, trying to remember what it felt like to give them the benefit of the doubt. I couldn't. "We're leaving," I said. The kids whined. "But why?" Grandma said. "We're leaving now." They didn't understand. Of course they didn't. How could they? They'd been told yes by people who'd spent their lives saying no. They loved it. It was easy to love. "Can we keep the toys?" one asked, hugging a stuffed bear like it held secrets. I hesitated for a second, then said yes. Taking the toys would make me the bad guy, and I wasn't giving my parents that win. As we left, my mom called after me, her voice sing-song and saccharine. "They'll come back to us. They always do." She said it like a fact, a promise, like she still thought she could win. That night, I didn't wait for a grand sign or a breakdown. I sat on the bed, looked at my husband, and said, "We have to leave." He didn't ask why. He didn't need to. "You mentioned North Carolina before," I said. "Your company has an office there. Your parents are there. I wasn't ready then. I am now." He nodded like he was already halfway there. "The transfer's still an option." "Good," I said. "Let's take it." No drama, no hesitation, just a quiet decision to burn the bridge and not look back. I didn't want revenge. I wanted distance. A fresh start. Somewhere they couldn't reach us. A few months later, we were in North Carolina. The mountains were stunning, the air crisp with pine and possibility. The kids started new schools. His parents, 20 minutes away, were kind, stable, drama-free, and eager to help. We didn't tell anyone where we went. We blocked numbers and vanished, not in a dramatic, soul-searching way, but in the way you do when you just want peace. One day, a call came from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Later, I listened. It was my cousin, someone I rarely spoke to. "Hey, your mom says she doesn't know where you are. She's really upset. Said you just cut contact. I don't know what's going on, but family matters." I deleted the message. I didn't call back, they didn't explain. Because by then all that mattered was this: we were safe, we were free, we didn't vanish, we escaped. About 6 months later, new state, new school, new routines, I was almost used to not checking my phone with dread. The silence was still strange, but no longer scary. Then I got an email from my sister. Subject, emergency, please read. I stared at it, tempted to delete it unread to mark it as spam. Instead, I opened it. It was long, angry, barely punctuated. The gist: my parents had been arrested again, not for being reckless, though that played a part, but for doing what they'd nearly dragged us into. They tried smuggling something across the border themselves. No middlemen, no family scapegoats. Just a trunk full of product and 2 people in their 60s who still thought rules were suggestions. They got caught. The email ended with a plea. They needed help, money for a lawyer. "This is serious. You have to put the past aside and step up, your family." I read that line 3 times. Then I hit reply. All I wrote was, "I did step up once. I'm not doing it again." And I meant it. I didn't hear from them for a while. I didn't need to. But word got back, as it always does. Cousins talk, family trees rot, but their roots run deep. They were charged with possession with intent to distribute and attempting to cross an international border with controlled substances. A few pounds, enough for intent but not headlines. They took a plea deal, 4 years each. Not life-altering, but not nothing. Enough time to reflect if they were capable. I doubt they are. The part of me that used to wince at talk of second chances is quiet now. We have a life here, not perfect, but ours. The kids laugh more, my husband sleeps better, and I haven't had to translate guilt into silence in a long time. As for the rest, I don't regret the boundary, not for a second. Thank you for watching my story. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and press the bell icon. Stay tuned for more real-life stories, get more experiences.